Ladies and people who are thinking about starting either content creation or your own business or a side hustle. I had a cool question in my coaching program recently, which really made me think a bit. I really love this question. It was, what were some of the things that you guys didn't realize before you started your business or your side hustle? And he then went on to also ask about content creation. So I thought I would sort of give my unfiltered, raw ideas or thoughts about maybe some of the things that I had no idea would be a thing in business or content creation, as well as some of the things that have helped me along the way. So the very first one that I'm going to say is probably not going to surprise any of you, and it is give yourself permission to suck. So I procrastinated starting my website for many months, starting my blog for many, many months, probably like 3 months, because I thought I had to do a really good job. I was really sort of worried about having really good content. I was worried that nobody would read it if it wasn't good. I was worried about like, what if I can't change people's lives? I put all this pressure on myself that to start in content creation or to start in a business, and back at that point, I wasn't thinking in terms of business. I just wanted to help people. I had all this pressure on myself that I had to be perfect. And one of the things that it was the first article I ever wrote. So one of the things that I embraced was just admitting the fact that I'm probably going to do a bad job at the start. Give yourself permission to suck. I'm probably not going to be good at this shit at the very beginning. So I'm going to embrace the suck. I'm just going to do a lot of content and I will improve. So many people, when they're starting a business, they put this pressure on themselves that they have to be good, or they have to know exactly what their product is, or they have to have some like amazing mastermind and their course has to be perfect or their product has to be perfect. It's like, no. At the start, can you just do something that gives somebody value? Yes, they will give you some money for that. Cool. Now you have a business. And so really embracing right from the beginning, when I got on at the ground floor, I just embraced this idea that I probably wasn't going to do a good job. Even now, there's a million things that I could be doing better. I've embraced this idea of sucking the entire time. I'm never going to sit here and say that I'm perfect or that I know what I'm doing or any of that kind of stuff. I'm just trying a bunch of things and seeing what works. So if I could give one piece of advice to any of you that are thinking about starting a business or thinking about starting a YouTube channel or a podcast or whatever it might be, just fucking start. Like, don't put this pressure on yourself that you have to be perfect. You really, really, really don't. The good news is at the start, when you don't have an audience or you don't have a lot of customers, if you suck, nobody's going to know. Nobody will see you suck. You have anonymity. And then by the time you bring people in, by the time you have a lot of clients or a lot of audience or whatever it is, you will be better. So fully embracing the idea that at the start of a business or content creation, you're probably going to suck, man, that absolutely helped me a ton. The second one, and this very much ties into the first one, is if you just do a ton of content, or if you're in a business, if you just play the numbers game and sell to a lot of people or tell a lot of people about your product, or if you're in, art or something, if you just produce a ton of art, basically, if you just do the thing a ton, some of it will turn out good. So this is a lesson that I learned. It took me a few months to learn this, maybe a year to learn this. And I had pushed myself a couple of times by doing things like a 365-day project, which is where you do something every single day. I am, at this current time of recording, in the middle of such a project. I am on day 175 of doing something every single day. I'm doing a piece of content every day. It was that process of just throwing myself into the mix of doing a ton of content that really taught me that if you want good content, you're going to have to do a lot of content. Now, this applies to absolutely every single goal that you guys and girls might have. If you want an amazing dating life, you have to go and talk to a ton of people of the opposite sex. You're probably not going to find someone amazing the first person you talk to, or the first Tinder date you go on, or the first person outside that you go and hit on. It's probably going to take a little bit of repetition. Absolutely applies to any skills that you might learn. It applies to sports. It applies to friendships. It applies to everything. To get good at something, you have to put in the reps. And I think a lot of people, especially with business or especially with content creation, are trying to avoid doing the work and they're looking for the magic fucking fix, which is why the first two things that I have started with, and this is what I told this coaching client of mine, the first two things I've started with are you're going to suck at the start and you need to put in a lot of fucking reps to get decent. You can't avoid the work, in other words. You can't avoid the suck at the start, like you sucking, and you can't avoid doing the fucking work. Those are two things that are absolutely mandatory in building any business. And the third thing that's absolutely mandatory in building any business is You need to focus on giving value above all else. I was fortunate enough to know this from the very beginning. I don't know how I knew that. Probably Good Looking Loser, which was a website that I followed, who got that message across. If you just give people as much value as you can, if you, in other words, help them as much as you possibly can, if you try and improve their lives as much as you possibly can, if you try and help them, or if you are able to help them achieve their goal as much as possible, those things, if you just throw yourself headfirst into those things, money or audience or whatever it is that you might be looking for, people who are loyal to you, all of that just comes back in spades. And so rather than putting your focus on making money, I would put your focus on giving value. Too many people who start a business or start a YouTube channel or any kind of stuff, they have it in their head that they're just out to get something. I'm out to get a lot of likes. I'm out to get a lot of subscribers. I'm out to get money. And nowhere in there do they talk about their side of the value equation or their side of the equation. They're not talking about what they're going to give. They're just talking about what they want to get. And I think social media definitely has influenced that, right? Like so many people on social media are just talking about what they have, what they've gotten, not what they're giving. They don't even give a shit what they're giving in terms of value. But if you focus 100% on giving value, you will build something more worthwhile than just money alone or just an audience alone. You will build a community. You will build people who are loyal to you, who would take a fucking bullet for you, who will go to the ends of the earth for you. And that is something that you cannot just make out of thin air. You have to fucking earn that. In other words, what you're building is a brand. You're building a name for yourself. You're building something that actually fucking matters. When people see your name, they will associate you with quality. So focus on giving value above all else. The next thing I learned in business and content creation is that people are going to criticize you no matter what you do. So just do what you were going to do anyway and don't try and please people. Notice I put in capital letters there, no matter what you do. And this is something that took me a little while. For probably the first year or two of my website, I was trying to please people. Now, I didn't realize I was doing it, but I would try and guess what they might criticize me about, and then I would kind of put something in the article to try and like head that off at the pass, so to speak. Or anytime someone did criticize me, or anytime someone had some sort of feedback, I would then get in there in the comments and I'd be like, well, actually, like, and I wouldn't argue, but I would try and get them to see reason. And sometimes they would just correct, and so I'd be like, bro, thank you for that. That's amazing. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the instances where someone just wants to argue with you, or someone clearly has no experience with the thing they're talking about, and this is just something you absolutely have to embrace if you start a business, or especially if you get into content creation. Some people who have no fucking idea what they are talking about will be like the keyboard warrior telling you how it is and telling you why you're wrong, or telling you how they know better based on some book that they read or some YouTuber that they think, but they have no skin in the game whatsoever. That's something you have to kind of embrace, or it took me a while to really embrace that. And so for the first couple of years, what I was doing was I was trying to phrase everything in a way that would ensure nobody would criticize me. And I was sort of tiptoeing around certain subjects. I was very careful with the language that I used. And I noticed that no matter how hard I tried, I would still get people who just didn't like me, or who just wanted to insert their opinion even when it wasn't asked for. There were just people that wanted to argue or dislike me for the most insane things. And I also noticed that one person would come along and say that they love a particular thing I said, or a way that I do things, and then the very next person would come along and say that they hate that. And so I realized if I'm just sitting here trying to please everybody, I'm going to fail, because I might do one thing and one person loves it and then the next person hates it. I've just failed. And then if I try and please that person that said they hated it, then the original person is now unhappy because I'm not doing the thing I was doing before. I'm going to lose no matter what I do if I'm trying to make people happy. And so I sat there and I thought, well, if people are going to hate me anyway, if people are going to criticize me no matter what I do, no matter how nice I try to be, no matter how honest and authentic, no matter how much I try and just give away stuff for free and give value and change lives and all of that, if no matter how much I try and do that, I'm still going to get critics and I'm still going to get negative comments, maybe I should stop giving a shit about the negative comments. Maybe I should just do my thing And the people that don't like me, they just don't like me. That's cool. That's chill. Great. Not everyone's going to like you. And so fully embracing this idea that you want to put yourself first and your mission and your values and your principles first and not worry about pleasing people. Now, obviously, to some degree, you are pleasing your audience or your customers or your clients. Like, I wouldn't sit here in a video and just put out complete and utter trash that doesn't help you in any way. I wouldn't sit here and just fucking, I don't know, stare out the window for the next 30 minutes and expect you to enjoy that. So there is some aspect of like doing stuff that actually gives value, which ties into the previous thing that I said. But my point here is not to do it in a way that means you're just avoiding negativity or avoiding criticism. Criticism and negativity are going to come if you achieve any goals or if you go for any goals. If you just start losing weight, some people will criticize you for that. If you start trying to make money, lots of people will criticize you for that. If you try and have sex, people will criticize you for that. People are going to criticize you no matter what you do. And so at the end of the day, you want to live a life that's true to yourself and not what other people think of you. There's a guy in my coaching program right now who's in the process of moving out of home and basically displeasing his parents. And I had a guy recently that I did an interview with, Asian guy Jack, and he had sort of disappointed his parents because they had wanted this life for him and he was just like, no, I want to go in this direction instead. And what I've said to both of these guys and quite a few guys just like them in the past is you're just going to be unhappy if you sit there and try and live a life that's true to your parents, right? You're not your fucking parents. You want to live a life that's true to yourself because at the end of the day, you're the one that has to look into your own eyes in the mirror and be proud of who you are. You're the one that has to lay your head down on the pillow at night and be okay with the decisions that you made that day or that week. And so the same thing applies to business. I mean, it applies to every goal, but business, content creation, all of that stuff. If you try too hard to just please everybody, you'll never please yourself. This next one was a huge one. Now, I was already pretty open and honest and vulnerable right from the start, but really embracing this absolutely helped me. And I think turbocharged a lot of my content and a lot of the success that I've had. So this one is being vulnerable or be vulnerable and honest and share yourself openly. People are coming to hear about you. You are the product. Now, this applies mostly if you're in content creation, right? Certain types of businesses, you're not the product and people don't care about your honesty. They will care about your honesty, but they don't care about like you being vulnerable. But if you're doing, even when I say that, no, I think most people want honesty and vulnerability gets a bad rap. I'm not talking about weakness. I'm talking about just being fucking authentic and saying, look, I'm not perfect. I think a really good example of this is someone like Elon Musk, who is pretty fucking open and honest and vulnerable and not afraid to show his weaknesses or things that he's working on or things that he's not good at. His interviews are very deeply honest and authentic. And so I think people are crying out for honesty and authenticity, but especially if you're in content creation. The best thing you could ever do is tell your fucking story. And so any of you who are thinking of getting into content creation or just thinking of starting a business, and most successful companies or businesses do this, have your story either on your website or in your content or whatever it is. You know, that might be an about us section, or it might be our story, or it might be like the history of our company or whatever, or the history of myself. For me, it's my transformation article on my website as well as my depression article on my website, which basically detail the hardships that I went through and how I overcame them. And it's a motivational message for all of you to say, like, you guys and girls can do the same thing. If I got through this shit, so can you. People, when they're coming to your content or your business or your product or your service or whatever it is, they're trying to make a decision very quickly to figure out if you're authentic or not. In other words, if what you're saying actually has some evidence behind it, if you have proof, or if you're just full of shit, if you're just another internet marketer or whatever who's selling something that they don't necessarily have experience in. And so telling your story, as well as sharing your struggles and the things that you're working through and your highs and your lows, shows people that human side of you, and then they can fucking trust you. And even more importantly, they will then go even more all in with the advice you give, because they'll go, wow, this motherfucker is very honest and authentic. I'm going to listen to what they say. I'm going to apply what they say. They're telling me that I can do it too. They've gone through this stuff, or they're going through this stuff now, and here's what they're doing to improve it, blah, blah, blah. fuck, maybe I can do it too. And they will try harder. They will follow your advice more. They will go more all in. They'll get better results, and then they will be your biggest fucking cheerleaders. So one of the best things you can ever do is share yourself, talk about your highs, talk about your lows, talk about what you've overcome. And this doesn't just apply in business. I say this all the time with dating. If you can just be honest and authentic about the things that you're not good at, the things that you're improving, the struggles that you went through in the past and how you overcame them, you're showing that human raw side of yourself. And then the other person doesn't have to feel like they have to play this caricature where you're both trying to pretend that you're perfect human beings, right? A little bit of authenticity, a little bit of vulnerability, a little bit of fucking honesty goes such a long way, especially in the world of business. This next one is a huge one. So ask clients directly what they need rather than me trying to push my own agenda or trying to tell them what I think they should do. So I was fairly decent at this at the start, but it's something I really stepped into. And I've told this story quite a few times with one of my oldest coaching clients, a guy called Ed, who I've had on the channel 3 times at this point. And we had this coaching session where I was, he wanted to do something and I was trying to encourage him to do it. And I'd been encouraging him for like 5 weeks. And we just hit this wall where he just didn't seem to be able to do it. And he had a breakdown on a call. And he was at this point where he's just like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I don't think I want to do this. And I had in that moment, and again, this was, several years ago when I was new to coaching, I had this idea in my head of like, I should just make him do it, right? This is going to be good for him. He's paying me to force him or to push him. I should just give him a pep talk and push him to do it. But in that moment, I could just see the human being who was in front of me. And I was like, I don't think this is what he needs right now. I don't think he needs me to just have my fucking agenda of like, you should do this thing. This will be good for you. You need to do this thing. And in that moment, I just sort of sat there and I was like thinking to myself, and I think I even said it to him, like, what do you need? Like, what do you want? And he said to me very seriously, I just don't want to do this thing. I want to do it a different way. This doesn't feel like me. It doesn't feel authentic. I want to do it in a different way. And it was in that moment that I was like, I had to humble myself. And I was like, maybe I don't know the correct thing that every coaching client should do. Maybe I don't always have the fucking answer. Maybe they're not me. And I can't just force them to be another little Andy clone. And so maybe rather than me forcing my agenda and telling them what they should do, in other words, like trying to be the fucking expert who just tells you what to do all the time, maybe I should just ask them what they want to do and go with that. And that was such a transformative moment in my coaching, in my content. That was the moment where I first started removing the word should. A lot of you know that I don't say the word should or have to or must or need to. I never sit here and tell you guys and girls what to do. I tell you what I have done, what my coaching clients have done. I give you recommendations, sometimes very passionate recommendations. But if you say to me, I don't want to do that, the next words out of my mouth are going to be like, awesome. It's great that you know what you don't want. That's brilliant. What do you want? And I will go with what you want to do, as long as it's not harmful to you or to someone else. Obvious caveats apply. But yeah, that was the moment where I sort of switched in my head to just saying to people, like, what do you want? Like, what do you actually want? And that has been so unbelievably transformative in my business, in my coaching, in my content. And so any of you who are in some sort of service, hell, even if you're selling a product, ask the fucking customers or clients or potential audience what it is that they want. Like, what do you guys and girls want? And you'll see that that's something I do a lot in my content. I will ask you guys, sometimes in YouTube comments, sometimes on my forum, sometimes my email newsletter, sometimes, in my Spotify podcast, I'll say, what kind of content do you guys want to do? Do you guys want me to stream like this? Do you guys want this? Do you guys want me to do this? Should I interview this person? I will ask questions. It's probably something I could do a lot more of, but just ask your audience or your clients or your customers what they actually want. In other words, what need do they have that you can serve? What need do they have that you can give value? And that will result in more audience, more money, all that good shit, more loyalty as well. This next one took me a little while to learn, maybe a year or two. And it is screen hard for the type of clients who will take action and show you that they're serious. It's okay, in fact, it's recommended to screen out most of your potential clients so that you're only left with the most serious of the most serious. What we're talking about here is obviously screening. And as I said, this one took me a little while. It took me probably like a year or two to fully embrace that I can't help everyone. I can't save everybody. And not everybody is a good fit for what I am offering. At the start, I was basically taking on, because I needed the practice, I needed the money, I needed the testimonials, I was taking on anyone who applied for coaching. Like, I didn't have any screening process. It was just, if you want to give me money, I will take it. And I worked with, and I'm really grateful that I worked with, these people, because it taught me a lot. But I worked with a few people that were just not fucking serious. Like, they just weren't. For various reasons, they just weren't. And the price point that I was charging at that point, because I was charging like $20 an hour, the people that pay $20 an hour aren't necessarily serious. Like, almost everyone in the world has $20 to spare, at least in the Western world, right? Almost everybody in the Western world, and a lot of Asia and a lot of Europe, a lot of the world's population has $20 to spare. And so I was getting a lot of people that would just not take action on anything that I said. I would give them all this passionate motivation, and they would just not do the homework, essentially. They weren't ready, or they weren't in a position, or maybe they just weren't serious enough, or maybe they didn't want it badly enough, whatever it might be. They weren't ready to change. And so I've learned over time to screen for the type of clients that I think are really close to being successful. They need a push, or they need some guidance, or they need to believe in themselves. They need the things that I can offer, or the things that I can help with. Or maybe they're already going to be successful and I can just help them do it 10 times quicker. I've screened, or I've worked really hard to screen for those people. Anyone who signs up for my coaching will tell you that. You can go and have a look on my website at my coaching page. You'll see there's like a checklist that you have to fill out to basically say, I'm serious, yes, blah, 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 yes, blah, blah, blah. Like, I make you fill out a questionnaire. One of the questions is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you about changing your life? Like, how ready to go all in are you? And if someone says anything less than an 8, I don't work with them. Hell, even an 8 sometimes, I'm like, let's make sure you're actually serious. Maybe you were 8 because you're actually 9, but you were scared to say 9. But I want to make sure you're pretty fucking serious. I've had a few people that fill that out with like a 4, and I'm just like, hey man, like, it's great that you're a 4, but like, no, thank you. Like, even if you have money, I don't want your money if you're not serious. So screening for the type of clients that I think are going to be successful has meant that at this point we have like a 99% satisfaction rate with the coaching. It's fucking insane. There's basically like no one who's unhappy. And a big chunk of that is because of the screening. And so this will obviously vary for, any of you listening, depending on the type of business you have. But I really would recommend, especially if you're in like a service business, just anything. I would recommend that you know who your target audience is, and you find the people that really, really, really want your product or your service and are ready to make the most of it. Like, don't sell, iPhones to babies. You know what I mean? Don't sell iPhones to elderly 85-year-old women, because even if they buy it, they're probably not going to fucking use it, and they're probably not going to give you good testimonials, and they're probably not going to talk about your product in a positive way. You sell your fucking iPhone to 20, 30-year-old, 18-year-olds as well. That audience. So kind of know your audience, or know the people that are going to really grab your product or your service and make the most of it. In other words, screen for the people that you think you can really, really, really give value to, rather than just trying to give value to everyone. Like, if I sat here, I do this in my content too. We do this on our forums. If I sat here and just tried to change everybody's lives, I would become so fucking bitter and jaded and cynical. Like, if I went out on the street right now and tried to get the average person to make more money, or to improve themselves, or to love themselves more, or to have a more fulfilling relationship, or to have a better sex life, I would just make myself fucking miserable, because most of those people wouldn't want my advice. They're not asking for it. They don't want to be improved. They're fine as they are. Maybe they're unhappy, but they're not ready to change. And so if I want to have a life that feels satisfying to me, and if I want to make a big impact on the world, and if I want to make money, and if I want to do a good job with my business, it's in my best interest to go outside and find the people that say, fuck yeah, I'm ready to change my life. And then I go, cool, I can help with that. So kind of know your audience and go for that audience. In other words, don't be afraid to kind of like niche down or to screen people out. The number of people that I've said no to at this point, I've probably said no to as many people as I've said yes to. Okay, maybe that's not true, but I've said no to a lot of people, like a lot of fucking people. And that's the reason why the coaching program is so damn successful, because it's like I screen fucking hard. The same with my sex life. I screen like crazy to eliminate anyone that I think isn't going to stick around for a while, doesn't have good mental stability, doesn't have goals. I screen out anyone who's not into self-improvement. I obviously screen out anyone I'm not attracted to, or I think I might not be attracted to, like after we've had sex 5 or so times. I screen really fucking hard. And that means that I'm left with the people that I want to spend time with and want to spend time with me. So this next one seems so fucking simple, but it's something that took me probably a couple of years to figure out. If you can get someone to pay you $1, then you can get one person to pay you $2. If you can get one person to pay you $2, you can get one person to pay you $4. If you can get one person to pay you $4, you can get one person to pay you $8. And you can continue this on until you get to points like if you can get one person to pay you $1,000, you can get someone to pay you $2,000. If you can get someone to pay you $25,000, you can get someone to pay you $50,000. And so far, I have not found a limit to this. And all of the entrepreneurs that I follow on YouTube, such as Alex Becker, Alex Hormozi, Dan Henry, Sam Ovens, all those kind of people, yeah, they say there's probably not a limit to this shit either. And so you might say, if I'm getting someone to pay me $1, how do I get them to pay $2? By having a product that's worth $10. In other words, Alex Hormozi says this, give such a crazy amount of value that people feel stupid saying no. And so you say, how do I earn $10,000? Right now I'm charging $500. How could I possibly earn $10,000? By giving $50,000 worth of value. In other words, changing someone's fucking life so that 20 years from now, they look back on that moment and go, man, I can't believe I only paid $10,000 for that. Jesus Christ, I kind of robbed that guy. I robbed my coach. Holy shit. Like, I feel kind of bad that I only paid him $10,000. And now, 20 years later, the effects are still paying off. Like, my life is orders of magnitude better because of that motherfucker. And so you might say, how can I give that much value? Whatever you're currently doing, do 10 times as much as that, or do a more effective version of that. Maybe I'll do a separate video if there's interest. If you guys want me to, let me know, of like how you can give more value, like ways you can give more value. But if you want to just cheat, just kind of look at what I've done. And I'm by no means perfect, but look at my coaching program. The price has like slowly gone up over time. It started out something insane, like $200 a month to be in my coaching program. At this point, it is $8,000. As I record this, it is $8,000 to be in the coaching program for 12 weeks. I've just slowly added more and more value. I've talked about this in lots of content. You can just go to my coaching page and just look at all the shit that I've got on there. More value is I am a more effective coach. That's one way of offering more value. So you can just get better at the thing that you're doing. You can build a support network of other people. If you're doing something like a coaching program, like I'm doing, you can just have other people in the coaching program who sort of support each other. That's worth a lot. You can give more of your time. That's worth a lot. You can create like ebooks and video courses and stuff to basically hold people's hands through the process. That's giving more. Or if you were selling a product, you could have like additional things with that product. Like maybe you're selling, a phone or something. And with that, you say, we'll also give you a 1-year warranty. That 1-year warranty, the vast majority of your customers will never fucking use. And so it doesn't cost you that much at all, but you get to charge $150 for it. You didn't have to do much. You just added more value. You've now made $150 extra. So giving more value, and that can be even just things like I will care about you more. I will put in more effort. I will show you more support and more love. The more value you can give, the more money you can change. And I really do want to drill this into you guys. I really haven't found a limit with this shit. Like I said, the group coaching program is $8,000 for 12 weeks at this point in time. It started out as like $200 a month. I am 100% fucking convinced, 1,000% convinced that I'm going to get that to $20,000 for 12 weeks. Pretty fucking soon too. I've made a promise to myself and to Cam and to Imogen that every time I get one client sign on to the group program, I'm putting it up by $1,000. So by the way, any of you who are thinking of signing up, I would fucking sign up now because I'm like speed running towards that 20 grand. How am I doing that? By giving as much value as I can, by sitting down with Cam basically every week and recording like books and video courses and ebooks and, podcasts and videos in the fucking coaching program to hold people's hands even more, giving more and more and more and more value so that people feel like, holy shit, like this is like actually life-changing. God damn, it's a steal at 20 grand. So I really don't think there's a limit to this. But at the start, when I started business, when I started this content, I had this, I had this idea that there was like a ceiling for how much money you could change. And my ceiling was really low, actually. I thought it was like $500 a month was the most that you could charge ever. I didn't think anyone would ever pay more than that. And I was just thinking in this like scarcity mindset, right? I had it in my head of like, well, $500 is a lot to me, and it's a lot to a lot of people. So surely there's no one out there who could give me that amount of money or more than that money. But you guys have to realize there are a lot of fucking people out there with money that are desperate for fucking solutions or happiness or entertainment or whatever it might be. And if you come along and solve a problem for them and give them the thing that they're looking for in like half the time or 10 times more effectively, people will pay big fucking money for that. I have paid stupid amounts of money to coaches and shit to just speed run my progress, and it's fucking worth it. And so many of my clients have said the same shit. It's like, bro, you've saved me like 5 years worth of struggling on my own. Jesus Christ, like I would have paid 500,000 fucking, I've had a couple of people say, I would have paid $500,000 for this. Like I would have just hustled for the next 10 years to pay off that debt to you because you've just fucking changed my life. So I don't think there's a limit to this, and I think a lot of you, if you're anything like me, are going to have limiting beliefs of how much you can charge, or in other words, how much value you can give to someone, but just slowly increment that over time. And the number one piece of advice I can give to you is you don't have to just start out charging $10,000 for your product or your service. Again, I started out free and then $20 an hour, and I just slowly raised that. The better job I was able to do, the more I was able to give people, the more I was able to change their lives, the more testimonials I had as evidence and proof for me and for them that I was able to change lives, all of that kind of shit. You slowly raise your price. A nice way of doing it, the way that's really been good for me, is you can kind of set little like bars or targets that you'll hit. So, you heard me say it before, every time I get a new coaching client at this point in time, I'm going to put the price up by $1,000. You can do something like that. Or you could say, every 5 customers that buy my product, I will put it up by 50 cents. And I'll give more value in that. Don't just put the price up, give more value. And the ratio you want, I said this before, you want to be giving like, I don't know if you want me to put a number on it, like 10 times more value than the price that you're charging. So if you're charging like $1,000 for your product, give the equivalent of like $10,000 worth of value or entertainment or whatever it is that you're giving, so that people go, Jesus fucking Christ, like I feel almost guilty taking this thing. I feel like I'm stealing from you. I'm going to go and tell everybody I know how much this absolutely changed my life or helped me or entertained me or whatever it is. I'm going to tell everybody, this is insane that you've given this away for this price. So have that sort of like 10-to-1 ratio, but raising your prices really is just a product of just giving more value. And the final thing that took me a while to learn is consistency is key. This is something that I'm still learning right now. I am not perfect at this. Remember one of the previous points was be very honest and vulnerable. This is me being honest and vulnerable with you guys and saying I am not perfect with consistency, but for the longest time I've sort of struggled to be consistent. So I've been decently consistent, but I've had periods of time where I just bang out like one video a day or multiple videos a day. I'm just grinding like hell, and then I will kind of let up on the gas and just release like one video a week. And then I'll wonder why less people come in for coaching, or I'll wonder why I change less lives, or I get less comments, or the YouTube subscribers stops going up as quickly. And it's just because I wasn't consistent. So if you are going to get into business or content creation or art or selling a product or whatever it is that you might be into, be fucking consistent. Take a page out of my book as someone who has not done the best job of consistency. Be more consistent. If you can upload a video every fucking day, you will grow like 10 times quicker than if you just do one a week. If you can do something multiple times a day, holy crap, you will grow like 20 times quicker. If you're in sales, if you just call 20 times the amount of people, you will be 50 times more successful. If you are in the arena of dating, if you just go outside and talk to 10 times as many women as you were before, you will be like 20, 30, 50 times more successful. If you go on Tinder and just use 10 times more boosts. And so you kind of get the point here. We sometimes refer to this as, playing the numbers game, and everything in life is kind of a numbers game. You have to put in the work. I said before, do a ton of content and some of it will be good, or sell a ton of your product and some people will love it. You kind of get the point here, but consistency is something that took me a little while to learn. I guess a final point, I'll give you guys a little bonus one, is you have to tell people about your fucking product. That sounds so unbelievably simple, but for the longest time, I've avoided, and this is something I'm only just starting to grasp now after like 2 or 3 years of doing this shit. For the longest time, I just would sort of half-assedly mention coaching at the end of these podcasts or these videos. I'd just be like, by the way, I offer coaching. And then I would wonder why more people weren't signing up for coaching. And when I switched that in my head and was more passionate about the coaching speeches, and I would talk about how much value it gave, I would talk about how many lives we've changed and all of that shit, more people came in. And I hesitated to really do that because I had in my head all of this weird stories and guilt about like being a sellout and like, I just want to give value to people. I just want to help people. And it's like, yeah, but if you want people to come in for your coaching, you need to tell them that it's there. You need to get them excited. Like if you're passionate about it, that should come across. And I was sort of, without even realizing it, giving the impression that coaching wasn't that worthwhile. Because I was half-heartedly saying it. I'm like, by the way, I offer coaching. That sounds like I don't give a fuck. Why would you join a program with a coach that doesn't give a fuck? And so if you're selling a product or if you're in content creation or you're a coach or whatever it is that you might be doing, be passionate about the thing that you're fucking doing. And in my case, I was passionate about it, but give yourself permission to be passionate about it. I think I was scared of being passionate about coaching because, like I said, I was worried that people would say, you're a sellout, all you care about is coaching. You're just doing this content to get coaching clients. Ties into the thing that I said before. People will criticize you no matter what you do. And so I fully embraced that and said, yes, some people are going to say that I'm a sellout whore. Cool. That's probably not the audience or the community that we're building. If someone literally thought I was a sellout, good. Like, please leave. Like, don't watch the content. And it's obviously not giving you value. And so fully embracing that idea that I'm allowed to let my passion or excitement out. And that's what people want. Like, people want to see that you're passionate about something. There's a nice, like, fine line that you can tread where you're not selling to people that don't want to hear it, or you're not, we've all seen like Spotify podcasts, and Spotify does this all the time. Spotify podcasts and YouTube channels where they do like a fucking 3-minute ad read about a product that you don't give a fuck about. And you can tell the person speaking doesn't give a fuck about, like Raycon earbuds, Clash of the Clans, like this kind of bullshit, like Honey, the fucking save yourself money on checkout in, like shit that we don't give a fuck about. And you can tell they don't get, like, do you think Mr. Beast gives a fuck about Honey? Although to be fair, Mr. Beast does really good ad reads. But do you think like these people give a fuck about the ad reads that they're doing? No, of course they fucking don't. And so you don't have to do that shit. But just being passionate about the damn thing that you're getting across or the content that you're doing and letting that come out, man, that has just been such a fucking game changer. It really, really, really has. So I am obviously passionate about my coaching program. We would absolutely love to have you in the program. I've got myself in there. We've got Cam in there. We've got a bunch of awesome guys at this point. I'm going to do a video. By the time I release this one, it might actually already be out. I'm going to do a video with Imogen soon about how grateful we are because we've had like 8 people sign up for coaching in the last 2 weeks. So we're going to do a gratitude video to all of you. So you either would have watched that depending on when I release this video, or it'll be coming soon. But super grateful for all of you. We would love to have you in the coaching program. Leave a comment below. Any of you that have started a business or you're deep in a business, let me know some of the things that maybe you didn't have any idea of, or things that you've learned along the way. Maybe some things that surprised you or just some learning lessons. Let's give a lot of value to each other in the comment section on this one. Remember, focus on giving value above all else. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, go out there. You see those little goals, those goals that you have, maybe some big goals, some little goals, whatever they are. You see them right there. What I want you to do is I want you guys and girls to get those goals, and I want you to crush those goals. Fucking dominate those motherfucking goals. Yeah.